Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kingdom of Nerds, a place where geeks, fanboys, fangirls, and of course, the common nerd, can come together into a judgment-free environment and talk about our interests. I am the Kingdom's ruler, Red Eyes Karibo. As you know, WrestleMania 35 draws near. Being a WWE lover myself, I am very excited about this event. We got Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. Kofi Kingston finally getting his WWE Championship match against Daniel freaking Bryan. Not to mention the very first female main event at WrestleMania. We're talking Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Ronda Rousey for the Women's Championship. However, a very important piece of WrestleMania is missing. You know what I'm talking about. As far as I know, and as you're watching this video, it's a week from WrestleMania. The Undertaker does not have a match. Any devoted WWE fan knows it's not WrestleMania without the dead man. However, I cannot allow this to ruin WrestleMania for me, even though, in my opinion, Undertaker is WrestleMania. To honor him and all of his great sacrifices he's made for the WWE, I've compiled my personal top 5 favorite Undertaker matches. Without further ado, let's get on with it. Number 5, Undertaker vs. Mick Foley, Hell in a Cell. You know the one I'm talking about. I'm not sure if that was WrestleMania. Might have been some other pay-per-view. But I do know that was one hell of a match. No pun intended. To be 100% honest, I'm still surprised Mick Foley lived through that match. I mean, think about this for a second. Undertaker tossed him from the rooftop of Hell in a Cell after brawling with Mick Foley on top. Threw Mick Foley onto the announcer's table. I don't know how that didn't break his back, and if that wasn't enough, Mick Foley climbed right back up the cell and proceeded to brawl with Undertaker a little more until he was choke slammed through the top of the Hell in a Cell. And after that, you hear freaking Jerry the King Lawler say, "Okay, he's dead." I'm personally surprised the drop from the top of the cell didn't kill him. Mick Foley is immortal, but Undertaker is a greater man. He ended up winning that match. And altogether, it was a great match. The crowd was excited. I loved it. I really, really loved it. However, there were matches greater than that, which is why this one takes number 5. And yes, I'm using Google Docs for this. Number 4, Undertaker vs. Chris Jericho, R-Truth, John Morrison, Rey Mysterio, and CM Punk in the Elimination Chamber. At the time, Undertaker was the World Heavyweight Champion. Also around this time, Undertaker was feuding with Shawn Michaels, who was still really PO'd about his loss against Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. We'll get to that later. Shawn figured the best way to get his rematch against The Undertaker at WrestleMania was to win the Royal Rumble. Of course, we all know that didn't happen. So, what does Shawn Michaels do? He finds his way inside the chamber from below, sweet chin musicked Undertaker, and let Chris Jericho pick up the win. And later on said, "Face me, Undertaker, at WrestleMania and claim your revenge." And that set up the headline for WrestleMania 26. We will get to that later. Undertaker did not win this match, but you gotta love how he performed in it. Number 3. Undertaker versus Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship. This was WrestleMania 23, the one I'm talking about. Now, WrestleMania 23 was the WrestleMania known as All Grown Up. I actually have it on DVD. It doesn't work, but still all around a great WrestleMania. Had 2 of my favorite announcers, Jerry the King Lawler and good old JR Jim Ross. Sadly, they did not commentate this match. Now, JBL and Michael Cole did a pretty good job. But I think it would have been better if JR and King commentated the match. But anyway, this match was my favorite in WrestleMania 23. Not just because it starred my favorite wrestler, The Undertaker. The action was just amazing. Undertaker kicking out of a Batista bomb. Batista fighting back what Undertaker was trying to do, a choke slam earlier in the match. Commentator just like, look at the strength. Look at the strength of the champion. Not to mention Batista getting on the top rope, something that the commentator said they had never seen Batista do. I just think it was a great match. One of The Undertaker's best, and he walked out of WrestleMania not only undefeated, but he walked out with the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm going to be 100% honest with you, I'm getting all ecstatic just thinking about it. Number 2. Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, the Streak versus Career match. Now, this is a match I mentioned earlier. WrestleMania 26, the headline of WrestleMania. As I said, Shawn Michaels had become obsessed with trying to end Undertaker's streak. So he got into Hell in a Cell, cost Undertaker the World Heavyweight Championship, said, face me at WrestleMania and claim your revenge. Undertaker accepted, on the condition that if Shawn Michaels beat him, he ended the streak. But if Taker beat Michaels, his career was over. How does Shawn respond to this? You're on! I hope that was an accurate imitation. The weeks leading up to WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels was going on about how if he couldn't beat Taker, he had no career, and that it had been his life for about 25 years. Did Taker really think that he would risk it all if he didn't know he could win? For Shawn's last meal, he ate those words. Undertaker had said that his obsession would cause him to pay the ultimate price. One of the commentators said that that price was probably the last ride during the match. Now, Taker had gone non-stop in this match. Now, I think what really kicked it off was Shawn Michaels doing the "this is over" neck slash. You guys know what I'm talking about. Undertaker does it a lot. At the beginning of the match, and towards the end of the match, to taunt The Undertaker. I honestly lost count of how many times Shawn Michaels sweet chin musicked Undertaker in that match. I think the table started to turn against The Undertaker, to be honest. When he went for old school, y'all know what I'm talking about, twist the opponent's arm, gets on the top rope, walks a bit, jumps off, elbows onto his opponent's twisted arm, y'all know what I mean? But he landed wrong, ended up hurting his left knee. Shawn Michaels took advantage of that, but ultimately, Tombstone Pile Driver, Shawn Michaels' legendary career, over. Wouldn't see him in the ring again for about 8 years. Crown jewel, y'all know what I mean. However, there was a great deal of respect between the two at that time. They shook hands, they hugged. Taker left the ring. Shawn Michaels took his time saying goodbye to the fans. It was kind of bittersweet, if you ask me. I mean, another match added to the streak. But Shawn Michaels did not wrestle again for a very, very long time. And the number one spot for my favorite Undertaker match, you should have guessed it, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. What many say is the greatest match of all time. I personally agree. The promo video itself was amazing. Shawn saying that he was no longer Shawn Michaels Employee of the Month. He was Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, the showstopper, the headliner, the main event. And that if there was anyone to face The Undertaker at the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania, it was him. Of course, Undertaker said that sometimes it's hell trying to get to heaven. And their introductions to the match was amazing. Shawn Michaels ascending from the Raptors, dressed in like a white version of what Undertaker wears, then doing his usual intro into the ring. I thought that was awesome. Then Undertaker coming from the depths of hell, rising up into the breath of WrestleMania. Now, one reason I love this match is because WrestleMania 25 was one of the first ones I ever watched. I think it was like 11 at the time. 10, 11, one of those two. Anyway, it was amazing. It was amazing. I loved the whole event, but this was my favorite match. One of the first things we see, Shawn Michaels practically dodging everything Undertaker threw at him. Faking a sweet chin music to get an advantage. There was a lot of sweet chin music in that match too, and even more pinfalls. Like, I've never seen more pinfalls in an Undertaker match in my life. Chokeslam, pinfall, not successful. Last ride, pinfall, not successful. 2 or 3 sweet chin musics, pinfall, not successful. Tombstone Pile Driver, pinfall, not successful. It goes on, it goes on, it goes on. And then there was that suicide dive Undertaker tried to do when Shawn Michaels was outside of the ring. He tried to dive for Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels pushed the ref out of the way, pulled a cameraman into harm's way. By the way, that was Jimmy Superfly Snuka's son, who was the cameraman. Or at least that's what I've read, that's what I've seen, you know. But before I even get to that, I mean, right before the thing I just mentioned with the suicide dive, Shawn Michaels tried a moonsault onto the Undertaker. Undertaker practically grabbed his leg, threw him down to the floor. Now, I know a lot of people say it's fake wrestling, but there's no way in hell that doesn't hurt. And speaking of moonsaults, much later into the match, Shawn tries a moonsault on the Undertaker, but Undertaker's just like, come on, go ahead, do it. I'm right behind you. You're right where I want you. Shawn Michaels tries to go for the moonsault. Taker grabs him, and the whole time, Shawn Michaels banging his fist against the Undertaker's like, no, shit. Tombstone Pile Driver, pinfall, 1, 2, 3. Match was over, 17-0. And of course, after the match, Undertaker did his signature pose, rolling his eyes back to the back of his head, sticking his tongue out, that creepy yet awesome thing he does. Whew. Let me tell y'all, that's a match that will live on in my heart forever. I thought it was awesome. The fans thought it was awesome. Jerry Lawler thought it was awesome. Heck, he was commentating, and he said, quote, "The fans behind me are chanting, 'This is awesome,' and they are right." Anyway, thank you for watching. That was my top 5 favorite Undertaker videos. Let me know what you guys think his best Undertaker matches were in the comments below. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you'll be notified when I make future videos. Might be about a month gap, but bear with me, guys. I'm working at Sonic. I know it sounds easy, but it's not. Anyway, let me know on your thoughts on this year's WrestleMania. Should they give Undertaker a match? Fuck yes, they should. That's just my opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions. Anyway, until next time, this is Raz Karibo, ruler of the Kingdom of Nerds, signing out.